gentlemen, and welcome. It's August the 3rd, 5 p.m., time for the Natchitoches Parish School Board Committee meeting. If you have any cell phone devices, please silence them so that they will not interrupt the decorum of our meeting. If you are interested in speaking to any of the agenda items, there's a form that you need to fill out in the back and pass it up toward the front so that you will be allowed to speak. I'm wanting to do something just a little different, and I want you all to be patient with us as we navigate our new system, and I think it's only for the betterment, but even when it's better, it takes some time, so you all be patient with us as we navigate board doc and all of the other new bells and whistles that makes things much easier. As we were down in the Tri-State Conference, there were some things that was said, and one of the things that was said is for us to remember our mission statement that navigates and keeps us focused and grounded about what we're here for. And so I want to recite it. And every time we meet, not only our board members, I want them to memorize it, know it, and I want you all to know it so that when we are not doing what our mission is, you can tell us we're not on mission. And so this is it. Through our persistent pursuit of progress together, we can develop college and career-ready students. We are dedicated to the success of all through a robust curriculum and quality instruction that connects to students' lives and their futures. It is our pledge to provide a safe, supportive, and nurturing environment in an effort to achieve equity for all. And together, we can. With that being said, we want to have roll call.
Mr. Manley?
Here.
Mr. McClure?
Here.
Mr. Minister?
Here.
Mr. Garner?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Present.
Mrs. Bedros?
Here.
Mrs. Broadway?
Here.
Mrs. Jackson?
Here.
Mrs. Palmer?
Here.
Ms. Phelps?
Here.
And Mrs. Bell?
Here.
Here's the floor.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Kanika, to our superintendent. Thank God for his presence today and all of the hard work for us getting ready to start school. Give it to you.
Yes, sir. So, as everyone can imagine, it's been a very busy month, and it's probably been an especially busy past few days as we have seen some different things in the news that we're going to touch on briefly. But as Reverend Harris said, something that he said about the mission, we also want to make everyone aware of the vision, which is tied to the mission, which is our persistent pursuit of progress. And what I've been telling everyone, our principals today, and anytime I talk to anyone outside of the district or in the district, is that we have two guiding principles within that vision and mission. And those two guiding principles are, number one, our highest priority, what we are here for, our highest priority is student learning. So everything we do, we ask ourselves, are we doing our best in student learning? And our second guiding principle is that our greatest responsibility is student safety. So if we, in every action, everything we do, if we adhere to our highest priority of student learning, our greatest responsibility is student safety, then we feel as though we can have a successful school year. So we will be, as Reverend Harris said, we'll be reminding you of the vision and mission on a monthly, if not more frequent basis. I do want to let you know that this Thursday at our next meeting, I will be providing you some more updates on the data. We had a meeting today with Dr. Brumley, all of the system leaders, to discuss the data from this most recent school year. We are still disaggregating that data, and I will have a brief glimpse of the district overview for you. I do want to let you know that this message from Dr. Brumley that I think is especially important to put into context the data that I will be providing you Thursday. Dr. Brumley states, and this is available on the website and also in the Advocate. The data is clear that in-person instruction is far more beneficial than virtual learning options for the majority of students, said Dr. Brumley in a press release. This information should guide decisions for educators and parents moving into the new school year. It is absolutely critical that we keep our students in the classroom for this upcoming year while mitigating the spread of COVID-19. And that very much goes to our two guiding principles. Student learning is the most important thing, but student safety is right there with that. So I'm excited to know that our guiding principles are very much in line with what Dr. Brumley, our state superintendent, is saying as well. So, that being said, we are now going to discuss a little bit about COVID and what's going on with COVID-19. As we're all aware, the Delta variant is having a fourth surge here in Louisiana, and we are by far, per capita, the hotspot in the United States currently. I'm going to have in a second Ms. Jennifer Furman from Cabrini come talk to us a little bit about what our school-based health centers have to offer. But I do want to tell you that we have some guidelines. I'm not going to bore you with everything on it because some of these guidelines we are going to put on the website. I'm going to hit the high points because most of this is boilerplate from last year with a few exceptions. The first, obviously, is yesterday the governor reinstated through proclamation the mask mandate, as we can all tell because we're all wearing masks. I do want to let you know that obviously that's going to happen in our school system. We've already informed all of our stakeholders. That is from 5 years old and up. We have students who are younger than that. We will be strongly encouraging those students to also mask up, but due to their age, the CDC and LDH make that a recommendation, not a mandate. There is currently no exemption to the mask mandate. And that is not a Natchitoches Parish thing, that is a state of Louisiana thing. And whether we agree or disagree with the law, we are going to follow the law in Natchitoches Parish. I do want to mention some things about quarantines. Last year, we felt like we quarantined everyone, and we were the quarantine police in some cases. This year, with updated guidance, if anyone is strict with their masking, and they adhere to masking at all times, and they are exposed to a positive case, they will not have to quarantine as long as they were masked the entire time. Not 50% of the time, not 80%, not 99% of the time. If they were masked 100% of the time while they were exposed to that positive case, and then show no symptoms, they will not have to quarantine. That is a huge shift. And we do believe that because of increased rates of vaccination, due to increased adherence to masking, this will mean that our students and our staff will be able to stay in school and not be quarantined as much. And we also believe that this is going to be a win-win for everybody. We have also, through looking at the CDC guidance, we will allow this year neck gaiters. The previous reason for not allowing neck gaiters were the thin polyester allowed for particulates to become a larger size, which made them stay in the air longer, which made it more able to contract. All you have to do this year is when you wear a neck gaiter, you double up on the neck gaiter from the nose and mouth, and you can wear the neck gaiter. So I think some people will be very happy about that. We have simplified our guidance. As far as the quarantines and everything goes, we have, it's only about one page as far as who quarantines, when they quarantine, how long they quarantine. We want to be as consistent, which we believe we were last year, but there was all these if and then statements. This year it's very straightforward. If you get exposed, it's this. If you get exposed to this, it's that. And we will be providing that officially to everyone Friday. The reason for the delay is because we've had changes in policy at the state level, the federal level, and we also are voting on some things here in this board meeting on Thursday that will affect that guidance as well. So that will go out as soon as we vote Thursday. We will also be releasing to the public after the Thursday voting meeting, the biggest thing we'll be discussing tonight, and we have Dr. Jennifer Deason from LSU HS, who will be talking later about votes y'all have pending Thursday on a completely voluntary, let me repeat the key word there, completely voluntary testing program for all staff and students that we think is a further measure that will make us safer than we were last year. So again, two things making us safer. Increased masking, because remember our young students, all of LP Vaughn wasn't masked last year. So we're increasing masking. We're possibly voting in a testing protocol that's voluntary. And then also, we are still excited to announce that we are still doing the vaccination clinics at Natchitoches Central. That happened yesterday, also today, and it will continue Thursday. That is for any community member who is 12 years or older. Obviously, if you're 13 and you show up, you would need your parents' permission. That being said, we very much believe, we understand the anxiety, the trepidation that some people feel because of the things that are out there. But based on data, we kept your students safe last year. Infections occurred outside of the school more often than in the school. We kept your students safe. We are actually increasing mitigation efforts, so we actually believe we can keep you safer. And the data from the state shows overwhelmingly that students need to be face-to-face to learn. With those things in mind, we believe that this year, although we all know all the craziness going on, that this year is going to be a more successful year because we've lived this for a year, we know how to address it, and we know how to address it in a way that isn't as disruptive. And that's all I have. Board members, I just got you this today. It's your NPSB Ready to Achieve. That just took the name from the LDOE Ready to Achieve. I would ask that between now and Thursday you review this document. If you have any questions, this has gone before our HR, it's gone before numerous other folks, it's gone before our nursing supervisors. It's gone through a lot of folks. I want us to have all eyes on this so that Thursday we feel safe moving forward with this and present it to the public. And that is my superintendent's report.
Before we move on,
Yes, sir.
ask a question about transportation. You said you're gonna leave some of the windows down, or all the windows down.
Yes.
And that needs to be known because of the way some of the children dress. You know, when it gets cool, it's gonna get cool.
Yes, sir.
When it's hot, it's gonna be hot, so that's gonna need to be known.
So my hope is with this document, after Thursday, we will post it on the website. We will also push it out on our social media. I hope that our local media will push it out in the Journal, in the Times. I'll also be doing some radio spots, and that way we can make sure that the high points, the things that changed from last year, that we reiterate because there's a lot of opinions out
And
there.
the CDC says that about people in jail. Leave the windows down.
And I'm glad you said that because I want to let everyone know this is not Grant Eloy's opinion, this is not board opinion. I know there's a lot of the CDC this, the CDC that, but at the end of the day, no matter what we think, they are the doctors. I am not. I have a doctor in education, so we're gonna go by that, and I know that's not popular, but to me it's the only course of action we have because I don't have any information besides that. Anything I get would just be anecdotal at best.
A quick question.
Yes.
Does the document address possibly teachers going back to scrubs and jeans while the mask mandate?
So this is our thoughts on that. We have not discussed going back to scrubs and jeans. There is a level of cleaning, although if you look at the research right now, what they're telling us is that we need to have disinfection. I think everyone agrees that spraying of stuff and things of that nature is still necessary, high frequency touch surfaces. But what they're telling us, if you go to the CDC website and you go to LDH, the vast majority of transmission is not through those touch surfaces. Doesn't mean we're going to slow down and not do cleaning, but it really kind of, in our mind, negates the need to be having that the clothing on that is for getting on your hands and knees and scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush type thing. I know. I don't know if I've consulted other superintendents. I know last year's many districts went that way. I have yet to hear from any district who's reinstituting the jeans and the scrubs mandate, or policy rather.
Right, option.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, not mandate.
Okay, I have a question also. Then we're dealing with two type of viruses now, COVID-19 and the Delta variant, and people that have been immunized can come also becoming, I'm saying infected with the Delta variant. And you said that we would be doing the when people have to stay home and
Quarantine?
be quarantined.
Yes, ma'am.
If someone, a child, you find out the child is the Delta variant, wouldn't that require, because it's easier for people to get that than the COVID, and it's more deadly, it seems, from the information received from CDC.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and from what I've read, and I do not portray myself as an expert on this, but we've been, like most people, we've been in depth with this and we've been asking the experts. What they're saying is that it is definitely more contagious, but it's not necessarily more, they don't have enough information 6 months out, 9 months out to say overall that it's more deadly. Now what you're...
But more kids are being affected.
Yes, ma'am. Correct. That is correct. So, but what we've seen over the past year as far as quarantines is we quarantined a ridiculous amount of people who never showed signs or symptoms.
Multiple times.
Multiple
But
times.
we were not dealing with the Delta variant.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
So we might need to look at making some adjustments when you're saying no quarantine, because kids are being
Oh, no, we're still gonna
affected more so.
Yes, ma'am. We're still going to quarantine. And let me just tell you, at the bottom of this document, it says as new data comes to us as new, because I think that's one thing that people have misunderstood, because they say, oh, things change every week. Well, this is a relatively new virus. If you talk, we've lived with the flu our entire lives. COVID, Delta, now we're hearing about Lambda. All these things are relatively new scientifically, I guess you would say. And so our approach to it is going to be flexible. It is going to change. So, I've been in talks with numerous superintendents. Basically what we've done as superintendents is we've taken the LDOE guidance and put our stuff on it, because we don't want to get out of bounds with what LDOE is saying. We want to be in line with that, for one, because we don't want our tails hanging out in the wind, but also we want to keep people safe, and LDOE has been consulted by all the Oshners and Children's Hospital and all those things in their guidance. So that's what I'd say right now, but I would say we are definitely open to, if we see any sort of trends changing, that we will adjust accordingly.
Thank you. Just want to ensure that the parents will feel more comfortable in the hours.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if we have a employee that do not want to wear the mask, or when they're teaching or whatever, not wearing the mask, what kind of discipline we gonna do with them?
There's no exception to the rule. I talked to LDH today, and I told them, I said, one of the things in the governor's proclamation says, it goes over some specific exemptions, and I think it's generic. It says something about medical. So I called LDH, and I talked to one of their top doctors, and I said, can you explain to me what would be a medical exemption for COVID? And they said there are virtually little to no medical exemptions to COVID masking. And I said, well, can you explain that? They said that, and I think me and Mr. Benefield were talking about this earlier, if you're at a point where you are so unable to breathe or get circulation because you're wearing a mask, then that really precludes you from really needing to be in the schoolhouse to begin with. But if you're coming to work and you're doing your daily activities, perhaps going upstairs, walking to your classroom, etc., then you are perfectly capable of wearing a mask. And that does not come from my opinion, that comes from the medical opinions, because again, I only go to the doctors. I don't, because when I first thought that, I was like, okay, well, maybe there would be, but I'm a layman when it comes to biology and the medical field. So I went to the doctors, and they said, whether it's asthmatic, if the student has an asthma attack, they take the mask off and they use their medicine. So.
But I know what you're saying, but I know you got so many people don't believe in the mask. I know last year we had several incidents where teachers didn't have the mask on. So what steps do the principals do if they come in and that teacher employee don't have the mask on? What steps do they have to discipline that person? So
what I've done is I've reached out to Hammond, Seals, and Geis, and we did discuss this last year. The last we spoke, and this has been over a year ago, I believe that how they put it, I'm going to check on this again just to make sure it's still the same as that. When it comes to a governor's proclamation, and we're talking about power of law, it's all indoors, and I think in his speech he actually specified K-12 schools. Then what we would say is that's a term of your employment. And so that would be something that, if someone wanted to push that line with us, we would have to deal with that on a personnel level. And there would be repercussions that we would make sure are in line with our policy and are in line with any legal ramifications, and our lawyers are fine with that. But we're not gonna allow people to opt in and opt out when the governor of our state, whether you voted for him or not, makes a proclamation that's backed by law. It's just, I don't have that authority. We don't have that authority. So that's the stance we're taking, and we don't believe that's an unfair stance. But this is not, this small piece of cloth is not so burdensome to any adult that they would have to fight us on that. We don't believe.
Right. I guess it's like with Mr. Benefield there, they tell their workers that you have to have steel-toe boots. And if you don't, then there's repercussions for them.
And I want to tell everyone, this is not a political issue for me. I'm not getting involved in the politics at all. I don't care about the politics. All I care about is if you give me a magic wand to take Natchez Parish schools back to normalcy, I am going to do whatever I can to protect our students and do that. And that's how I sleep well at night, is doing that. And people may disagree with our methodology, but I'm only going with what I know is best from experts. And I can't go based on Facebook opinion and YouTube conspiracy. I can only go on what experts who have done the research, done the time and research the literature tell me to do.
In reference to virtual, because you mentioned, and I know you read the information about the ratings going plummeting for the elementary age kids. But the criteria changed for virtual.
Yes, ma'am.
And so if the parents have a desire and they don't feel safe with the children being back in person, for those kids under.
So I've talked to numerous parishes. The vast majority of parishes are not, they're either not offering elementary virtual, or if they are, it's on a very low limit. I guess when I look at the data, I know that people have read articles recently that say students are more susceptible. Yes, they are more susceptible to the Delta variant, but we are still not seeing effects outside that are so alarming in terms of the numbers increasing with students that make it to the point where superintendents across the state, Dr. Brumley, the governor, think that virtual is the option. Now, I spoke to a congressman today that said, we want to keep virtual as an option, but the last option. And I'll be honest with you, could we get there during this fourth surge? It's a possibility. I just thoroughly do not believe, based on the data, based on the numbers we're seeing and the numbers we saw last year and all those things, that we are there yet. I am open and I am flexible to the idea that this could get potentially worse. And if it does, my students are face-to-face. The most important three people in my life, Ella, Percy, and Charlotte, and my wife is a close second to them, and it's the same for her to me. But those three little people, I'm not going to put them in any danger, just like I'm not going to put anyone else. But I thoroughly believe the point we're at right now is that at some point we have to start living carefully. But if I subject a child who's already in poverty to 2 years of not learning, I have to start asking, what is their livelihood going to be like 10 years from now? And that's what, I'll be honest, right now, after living a year in COVID and being vaccinated myself and seeing all the horror stories, but knowing the science and knowing the mitigation efforts behind it that can help us, it scares me more 10 years down the line, that child living in poverty now who gets 2 years of virtual, as opposed to coming to school, wearing the mask, and I think being kept safe.
And we're talking about the younger children, 5 and under, right? Under 5.
Fifth grade below does not have a virtual option.
Okay.
6th grade and above does, and I'll tell you, we've only had 60 some odd students apply for virtual parish-wide, even in the high school. And that was our largest group originally. So,
And those are all foundational grades.
yes, sir. You learn to read, kindergarten through third grade, and then you learn to read and then you read to learn. If you don't learn to read, life becomes exponentially more difficult.
Any other?
Yes, question. Oh, no, go ahead, you had a question?
Oh,
Okay, so while we're on the superintendent's report, I sent you a text and asked you about, no, it's a couple of days ago.
okay.
But about, we had a few parents ask about online registration,
Yes.
possibly for next year. What hurdles or what
It's,
caveats do you see?
I believe, and trust me, one of those parents was my wife. And numerous people who work in this building, I've heard from principals, I've heard from everyone, a loud, resounding cry to go digital in terms of our registration for next year. That's a conversation that as soon as we get past the start of school, me and Miss Theus, who is amazing, she is one of those people behind the scenes that y'all never see, but she keeps the district running on data. Me and her are going to have an in-depth conversation of, okay, we got to start moving this direction. What do you need from me? What resources do you need? How do we make this happen by next school year?
Right. I'm just thinking too, the paper savings,
Well, we've done it with y'all. We're now on iPads for board docs, so we should probably be looking the same direction for students.
okay, thank you.
Hopefully it'll help us too if parents can, at some point, just change their telephone numbers online, as opposed to that school trying to contact those parents and that number's not there.
Well, that's one of the big problems. We had that conversation down in Biloxi. They were trying to find ways to better communicate with the parents. And what a lot of people don't know, sometimes you get a new number, and in a month, there's another number that's changed.
Well, and
Yeah.
not to make this superintendent report any longer than it already is, but we are looking into, there's going to be an RFP on Thursday's meeting to look for an app
Yeah, that's
for communication, because even if they change phone numbers, they're going to have that app still in their phone. So,
That would be great. And
Yeah.
if we could, instead of robocalls, we could app,
Yes.
that would be wonderful.
yes, sir, that's the idea. Robocalls are invasive and not effective. An app would be much less invasive and much more effective.
That's one of
And I'm
the
sorry,
things
Mr.
we
McGuire,
should-
did you have a question? Did I interrupt you?
I was just gonna say, some of them don't want you to have their number, that's why they don't give you the wrong number. Cause that's why one guy down there at the fry station, they run into that, the wrong number, they give it to them, and when they walk out the office, the teacher try to call them, and the number's disconnected, so.
And I'm
they want you to
sorry,
have it.
I almost got to the end of my report without Ms. Furman. Ms. Furman, if you could please come up and share with us a little bit about what the Cabrini Health Centers offer, and also what y'all are doing this year in terms of COVID-related support to the schools.
Okay.
Sorry, we
No,
yeah,
that's okay. I was thinking that you were gonna call that LSU Miss Jennifer
no,
first.
she's at the end of the night.
Only because, is she talking about the, is she talking about the,
The testing.
K through? Mhm.
Yes.
Cause I could input some of that, I mean, we could do some of that.
Would y'all like to tag team it at the end?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, well then,
I'll tell you what we're doing right now,
Yes, ma'am.
and then how we can help you with that.
sounds great.
Okay, because we are doing that in other parishes. All right, so, school-based health centers, we have 17 school-based health centers across the state. We have 4 in this parish, I'm sure y'all know that. 1 in Active Central, 1 at Lakeview, 1 at Marthaville, which is part-time, and 1 in Provincetown, that is part-time. Our staff is housed at the part-time sites, 3 days a week, and the other 2 days a week, and the other 2 health centers were there full-time. It is hard to talk. In all 4 sites this last year that just passed, we had 2,054 kids enrolled in our health center. We did 6,668 visits. 2,092 of those are mental health, and 4,856 of those are medical. So we are seeing some kids.
Yes, ma'am.
We do not bill the parents at all. They may get an EOB from their health insurance, but we don't take any money from the parents. Those services are written off, like a ring. Our budget is you can't hear me?
I think that mic is not.
Our budget is $3 million for our 17 health centers, but at least 3,000, trying to do the math, I'm not math, I'm counselor. At least 300,000 goes to your 4 school-based health centers here in this parish. We also just received from the AHEC in Bossier, received 2 telehealth setups. So if one of our nurse practitioners is at another health center, we have a computer set up with the little digital audio scopes and the ear things on, and we can do medical visits via telehealth. We are doing testing, screening, COVID testing and screening to every student that comes into the health center, testing for those only symptomatic right now, and she's gonna do the other.
Yes, ma'am.
We're gonna give vaccines to the 18 and under students with the parent consent. It's a totally signed, different consent than we have for the regular health service. Those will be ordered from OPH. Everything comes from the state and goes back to the state, so it's no other labs involved or anything. We are doing, last year we didn't do the medication, the daily meds. We didn't do that because Dr. Holcomb in Rapids Parish told us that it was best that we didn't have healthy kids mixing with sick kids. But this year we'll start again with those daily meds, checking the diabetics and all that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to, because y'all do provide an awesome service to our students free of charge, and so that, especially in this day and time, I wanted the board to be aware of all the great things y'all are doing.
Superintendent, ma'am, I have a question. How can we expand that mental health services?
Thank you so much.
And how do we, and how also do we do the follow-up? That's the big thing, is that initial, and then what do we do?
Like for
Get that-
crisis.
Yes, ma'am, and get the parents involved in
We
the
have-
interventions and the things set up that need to take place.
Right, we have a full-time, it is very difficult to hire licensed people.
Yes, ma'am.
The lady that works in Lakeview just left, so we have to fill that position. But I have a part-time that's gonna take over. They're only there, one person is only at each center, but it's every day, 8 hours a day. We take teacher referrals, we take other student referrals, we take parent referrals, we have a referral form. We also try to catch them, we're doing like risk assessments during sports physicals and comprehensive physicals. I love that you asked that question, because I'm at LPC, a licensed professional counselor, and I worked in a health center for 17 years. In my health center where I worked for 17 years, there was ample students coming in. It was a Vols High, does anybody know where that's at? And a Vols High is 24 hours crisis. And so I did a lot of what Rapids Parish calls the lightning strikes, the suicide, homicide, child protection cases. We handle all of those. The parents go home with a letter or straight to the emergency room with that letter saying that they have to get a physician to release them to come back to school, and we follow up with them 3 to 5 days. After that, if they're functioning and can't come to school, we follow up with regular counseling sessions, at least once every 2 weeks. Those are just scheduled by our secretary. And then usually if they're like major depression, bipolar, anything that needs constant supervision, we have to refer them out. The reason we refer them out is because we're not on call, we're not available to them 24 hours a day.
And sometimes that referral you're talking about, I think we all know that those appointments are a month, 2 months, 3 months out, and the follow-ups are even 6 months. And so
Right.
that's the thing that I was talking about.
The interim.
How can we help and continue that till we hand it off maybe someone else? And that's the point I'm trying to have.
I mean, we can continue to see them, but if it's a lightning strikes situation, then they can't be on campus. We don't have the means, most of those need either medication or inpatient. So until they're released from an inpatient or released from a medical doctor, we can't see them in the interim. As long as they're able to come to school, we could see them.
And I'll add to that, there's been some local providers that have not been involved in the past, since I guess before I got here, I think under previous administration, they had stopped interacting with the district. They've reached out to me in the past week and inquired about mental health services and casework services for students kind of in that interim. And their fear was not being able to come because of COVID. And I said, no. Mental health is a part of this. So as long as y'all do all you need to do, mask up and submit to the checks and everything, you can come and provide for our students. And I'll send y'all that organization in the next week. I just don't want to put them out here yet.
Is it community support services though? Because they send out non-licensed people.
This is
You gotta be careful of that.
Yeah. No, this was all LPCs.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
great,
That's right.
perfect.
That's
Okay,
right.
well,
Thank you.
And so you were saying you actually facilitate the referral if it's required for a child to have to go into a mental health facility?
Yes, we have the numbers, we give them the calls. Most of the time, we'll send them to, if we feel it's really emergent, we'll send them to the emergency room. I'm not sure if Natchitoches is one of those hospitals that refer inpatient. We have a couple in Falls Parish that don't, so we have to send them direct.
And for that acute care, when it's an emergency, Jennifer Ingram deals exclusively with that, and follows the students to the hospital. But I think what y'all are more concerned about is the long-term care, and I can get y'all some information on that of what we're looking into moving forward. In terms of our adults, this year was really hard on everybody, but I think probably the folks who got it the worst, I hate to even put it in terms like that, but some of the people who had a real hard time were our principals because they were getting it from everywhere, and we're putting them in a professional development program that specifically helps them to deal with stress management and mental health type of solutions. And we'll also be expanding that program probably after Christmas. And the good news about that program is it's paid all through ESSER funds. So that's going to be, we're really excited about that.
But know that if you as principals or whatever school board members have referrals, and there's a health center in your school, just reach out to the health center or to me. My number is in every health center, and I will get you some help.
So have we looked at providing services for adults though? Have we looked at providing services to adults? Is there any agency that we could contact?
So actually, currently right now, one of the things that Dr. Brumley did with the state federal aid is they invested in free clinical meetings with any employee in the state of Louisiana. I believe each employee is entitled to 4 of those. And we put that out there. There's no tracker that tells us how much people are taking advantage of that, but they have the ability to call and set up an appointment. I believe it's via telehealth, and they can have a free consultation and counseling session 4 times with a professional licensed counselor.
And I think what we have to do is stop making mental health as such a taboo, like in the ministry right now. Pastors wasn't supposed to be seeing no shrink, but now we got plenty of them because we're dealing with both heaven and earth, and we're in a serious crisis. I just read the book and the documentary on the kids are not healthy, and it's dealing with mental health and some things that we don't necessarily look at that can trigger things on those who have not been assessed to say that they're dealing with a mental crisis. As a matter of fact, every last one of us, there's a fine line between mentally being healthy and about to explode.
And that, I'm glad you said that. Because I do think that's why it's also important to get face to face, because think about being a third grader who has had little or no social interaction
That's one of the
this
things
school
we talked
year.
about.
I mean, we are social creatures. We just are as human beings, and I think it's important to invest in that, because we've seen students who, they may have stayed away from the virus by staying at home, but how did that affect their mental health? And I think that we're seeing serious repercussions from
Right, one of our national performance measures that we have to do in order to stay good with our grant with LCS and OPH is risk assessments. And last year, we did 71% of students had a risk assessment, 39% at Natchez Central, 30% at Provençal and Martinville had a risk assessment with the mental health. We're trying, but
Yes, ma'am.
our numbers have to increase 25% every year, and hopefully we'll get to that.
Well, I've told every principal who has a health center that they need to move heaven and earth to get as many students signed up, because it's such a tool for parents, especially the price being the biggest selling point.
Free
Yes, ma'am.
services.
Hi, I'm a mental health advocate, and my question to you would be, and I'll piggyback on what President Harris said, are there any campaigns to destigmatize mental health services in our public school system? What campaigns or what literature are you putting out there to make it more appealing to students to opt into receiving professional counseling services?
Hi, there's a lot of different services at different health centers. It all depends on your mental health staff. But I encourage, we have so many guidelines that we have to, we're required. The awareness is just an add-on. At Vols High, I can speak for myself, because at Vols High, every year we did Mental Health Month, and we had everybody wear a green shirt, and then some of us bought some that said mental health. We give out bracelets, we talked about it in the open forum. At some of our health centers, they're able to do that. And then you have that, because of COVID, we didn't do any health presentations last year at all. And a lot of our health presentations center around that, like suicide prevention, depression, and all those stuff. And last year, we didn't get to do that because we didn't have large groups. So hopefully, some of that will relax a little bit, we'll get back out there with that awareness.
What I do know from other states and districts is that what they have on their websites, which is which can be reached by students, parents, and teachers, is a link on the school's website so that the students, teachers, or parents could go ahead and submit information and have that contact with the mental health services. So that's maybe something, I mean, of course, you and I are gonna be in communication, but that is something that we can possibly do to make it accessible to everyone.
Definitely, definitely.
Because we're definitely gonna need some assistance, the kids are, and coming back from virtual to in-person.
Definitely.
They're gonna need some help.
Also, with deaths and sickness, they have all that grief issues too.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Herman.
Okay.
That was so informative, and thank you again, and thank your staff
All
again.
right, I might hang out
Yeah.
so I can answer any questions after that.
Oh, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, we hadn't gotten off the superintendent.
Well, and Mr. Stamey is actually on the superintendent's report.
Come on, Stan. And that's under old business,
Actually,
or superintendent?
yeah, it's under superintendent.
Hello, everyone.
Oh,
Two main things I want to report on. One is the status of the Collegiateville School project, in which we're attempting to donate that property to one entity. And as we stand right now, their attorney is still working to try to come up with an alternative proposal for your consideration. We've been waiting for those documents for some time. We've been assured they will be received any time, but as of today, we still do not have them. My anticipation is that we will have them soon. And I think the primary issue is going to be with regard to their concerns about how they can obtain funding in regards to some of the retroactivity aspects of our agreement, wherein if they do not perform, they could forfeit the property back to us. And they're concerned about some of their preliminary efforts to secure some financing. Apparently there's been some pushback from some of the lending institutions that they're dealing with, wherein they may not be able to obtain that funding if that provision is required. So if we can we're waiting to see what their alternative proposal is. We're waiting to see if indeed it's doable and if we can either agree to that, if it's something that we can work with, or alternatively, if there's some way we can come to a compromise where we have our protection and security, and yet they can still have whatever they need to ensure their funding resources or sources down the road. So there we are with that one. Secondly, with regard to the status of the Parkway parking matter, we're very, very close to getting that resolved. The one continuing challenge has a tentative agreement finally, and we think we're about to bring that aspect of the dispute, if you will, to a resolution. And I'm pleased to say that I may even have some news for us by Thursday on that. So cross your fingers. Any questions? Thank y'all very much.
And that concludes the superintendent report.
All right, the old business. Well, we have another piece of property that we have been talking about as far as over at the MLK. Any word?
But I haven't heard, I have not heard anything about that at all.
I'm sorry, you are?
Huh?
You are?
I'm Lee Wascom, the Director of Business Affairs. Good to meet you, Ms. Bell. There's no word on that at this time.
And you?
No, I have not heard from either party.
All right. Thank you. New business?
Okay, I have presented to you guys in your package a resolution that we need to pass on Thursday. This is the resolution. We are asking for renewal of the BRE funds as they currently exist. There's no additional or subtraction from the BREs. The Ms. Bell, BRE stands for Building, Repair, and Equipment. So it is the funding that is used for a particular school. So these two districts are the Marthaville District, District 10, and also the Province Hall District. Province Hall has two different BREs. They have one for 7 mills that is renewing now, and another in 2 years. So they have a total of 14 in total, but this is only 7 of them. So we're asking just simply a renewal of those two BREs, and that is all addressed in this proposal. Is presented to us by our attorney. Was it Breland? Was it Mr. Black?
And do we only have to read that Thursday before the vote, or do we need to read that today?
We need to, well, this will be a resolution as presented by some board member.
Okay, got you.
It should be read tonight. Tonight? You had to read it a month ago.
Right.
No, we read the call to the election into the record. This is the actual resolution that we vote on.
For the public, they need to know what the resolution is going to be about. What it states.
So you want to read this entire document into the record?
No, sir.
You don't want to submit it in the record, or
No, sir. Just read the resolution so it goes where it says consolidated 8, consolidated 10, and you can highlight that. But it talks about dates, times, places, and what's going to happen. And so the public needs to be aware of what we're trying to do here, as opposed to just hearing it Thursday night.
so just read page 1.
Yes.
Okay? The following resolution offered by, to be determined, and seconded by, to be determined. A resolution ordering and calling special elections to be held in Consolidated District Number 8 of the Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, Consolidated School District Number 10 in the Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, to authorize the renewal of special taxes therein, making application to the State Bond Commission in connection therewith, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Be it resolved by the Parish School Board of the Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, the governing authority, acting as the governing authority of Consolidated School District number 8 of the Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, and Consolidated District number 10, Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, that Section 1, election call, subject to the approval of the State Bond Commission and under the authority conferred by the Constitution of the State of Louisiana of 1974, including Article 8, Section 13C, third thereof, the applicable provisions of the Louisiana Election Code and other constitutional and statutory authority. Special elections are hereby called and ordered to be held in the districts on Saturday, November 13th, 2021, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. in accordance with the provisions of Louisiana RS 18:541, and at the said elections there shall be submitted to all registered voters qualified and entitled to vote at the said election under the Constitution and the state and the Constitution of the United States, the following provision to wit. Consolidated School District number 8 provision, tax renewal, what's that?
He's reading the millage on District 8 and then the millage on District 10.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Actually states. Shall Consolidated School District number 8 of Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, continue to levy a special tax of 7 mills on all property subject to taxation within the district for a period of 10 years, beginning in the year 2022 and ending in the year 2031. An estimated $60,000 reasonable expected at the time of the collection from the levy of the tax for an entire year, for the purpose of giving additional aid and support to the public elementary and secondary schools in the district by providing funds for construction, repairs, purchase of equipment and/or supplies, and additional improvements. Consolidated District number 10 proposition, tax renewal. Shall Consolidated School District number 10 of the Parish of Natchitoches, State of Louisiana, continue to levy a special tax of 20 mills on the property subject to taxation within the district for a period of 10 years, beginning with the year 2022 and ending with the year 2031, and estimated $840,000 reasonable expected at the time to be collected from the levy of the tax for an entire year, for the purpose of giving additional aid and support to the public elementary and secondary schools in the district by providing funds for construction, repairs, purchase of equipment, and/or supplies, and additional improvements. And that's the exact definition of what a BRA fund is, that last statement.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anything more? Yeah, we'll go there. And then with that, once that is done, there's a document here that says notice of special election. This is what will be actually sent. This document here will be signed after this resolution is passed and sent on down to Baton Rouge.
Yes.
Okay?
All right. Any other new business? All right. Receive transportation.
Okay.
Transportation doesn't have anything to report at this time.
How are we doing on recruiting?
Recruiting is.
I sent y'all a few people.
Hi, everybody. My name is Felicia Washington. As of right now, recruiting is going very well. We have 4 drivers that were working for us previously, came back. So that helped us out tremendously. And right now, we're just getting backgrounds in. So right now, we're just waiting for pre-registration to come in so we can start making our routes and getting everything ready for the first day. So everything is going well.
They've been calling me, Ms. Washington. I really think they've been calling me because they want to just come and see you. That's what I'm thinking.
But they've been calling me as well, and my answer to all of them right now is, let pre-registration get through this week, and Monday we should have definite routes, so,
It's that sign-on bonus, correct?
Huh.
Is that sign-on?
Exactly. So we did put a $1,000 sign-on bonus for, people coming in after 90 days, driving, then, they will get their $1,000 sign-on bonus, so that did help.
Say that again?
When you come in as a driver, we will train you. So we'll train you to get your Class B license, and you get your license, and after 90 days of driving for us, you get a $1,000 incentive for driving. So that did help, and so a lot of people came back, and I'm glad they did.
Great.
All
right.
And we needed them as well.
Thank
Any
you so
questions,
very much.
anything else? Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay. See tax commission.
Okay. I have in y'all's packet the tax commission report. This report is for the month of June. And as my usual thing, I usually bring y'all back to the distributions. Let me see here. The second to the third to the last page is the collections for the month of June. We grew 21.14% in sales tax collections. And that was a significant amount of income increase. In our budget for next year, you're going to see that I'm going to go ahead and at least estimate an average of 10% growth, because it's just, otherwise I'm just going to be doing a budget updates all the time. Because I can tell you that yesterday we received our money for the month of July, and these numbers continue to grow. So sales tax collections throughout the parish are doing well. It's real good. I mean, it's in the 20 to 25, almost just under 30% mark most months. So anyhow, this is really good news for us.
Budget update.
Okay, move on to the budget. Now, I don't want to spend too long on this, but I'm going to start with the budget. It says June 30th. Under general fund, you will see that in column 3, it's the very first line, $48,081,083, and in the yellow, in column 3, $48,409,000. Now that looks like that's a loss, but I want to share with y'all my frustration with the current program that we have. I'm here before you to tell you that the final number will be probably in a positive $2.5 million. As of today, $3.7 million has not been posted on this. But I can't tell you how frustrating it is to come before this board and tell you that because of the way in nature it happens, we can do things that can improve it. But I'm very frustrated that, well, it's somewhere between a $320,000 loss as shown here, up to as much as a $2.5 million positive. I can assure you there's $3.77 million that hasn't been posted in the revenue.
Mr. Lawson.
This has to do with the basis of cash basis versus accrual basis. My next report, and what we do is we run on a cash basis all year, and then we wait for the month of June to close, and then all of a sudden we take all the money that we've submitted for state. If y'all might remember, the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds, none of that became available till June. So all that COVID pay that we called it, what was it called, COVID compensation, all of that, that was $1.3 million. Now all that, and as well as all the indirect costs related to that, all all has not been posted in the revenue column as yet, but we still have to take it out of general fund and expense it out of general fund to pay for it, and then it gets reimbursed from the federal monies later. This is extremely frustrating because I'm always used to everything being timely. So this is, I don't like coming before y'all and say, where's the budget, Lee? And y'all go, I go, well, it's between a $320,000 loss up to a $2.5 million gain. That's not acceptable. The frustration with my program is not all programs do this, but this is the way in which we do this. The hard lock on these numbers, it's called a hard lock, is that everything to the end of April is locked, and I think May is pretty much locked in this. But the June, the $3.77 million that we have billed and will be received, we don't record the revenue until it's actually put in the bank. And the fact is, it's not, the June money does not get put in the bank until August 15th, so I cannot really give y'all a report. If you might remember, my predecessor presented to you guys last year an $800,000 loss, and it ended up being a $300,000 gain for the year. Where'd that money come from? Did I generate it? No. It came from this unusual way we do things with this program. This is very frustrating. I would like to, I'm looking for some other options here. This is not making me happy because, you know, it's actually kind of scary. And when, as Jay Sheffield told me the other day, he says, well, if you haven't lost your hair with this, you will. Because this will, I like to present to you guys what I feel like is a fair understanding of where we are financially. And telling y'all we're within a $3 million plus or minus is not reasonable.
So, Mr. Walton, I don't want to bury the headline.
Yeah, I know.
But the headline is, how much of a, are we thinking?
I suspect we will probably end with either 2.5 to up to $3 million. It could even be higher. Surplus
and all that money
in general funds.
And all that money is going where?
And then all that money will be retained in reserves.
That's awesome.
Our current reserves are somewhere in about 6.4 to 6.7 million, and it will we will be nearly 10 million, which was a 5-year goal of ours. Dr. Eloy and mine have a $10 million in reserves. We might be able to knock it out this year.
Well, and then we'll just create a new goal of $15 million in reserves.
I'll be careful.
That's
I
where
may
it was
actually.
for years, 10 million. That was there, 10 million. And that's how long, $1 million a week to run the system, so.
Well, if you have a $7 million budget, yeah, it's about, well, it's 1/7 of our yearly fund, but it does allow for a great deal of cash flow to keep up with the billing.
Well,
And so you're looking for options to fix the problem?
So look for different types of software.
he is.
Right. So would that be within the same company? Is there something we can add, or do you think a whole new?
I'll have to report back to you. There have to be some other type of governmental accounting I'm happier with than this, because this is just frustrating.
I
We
want-
want to keep happy, so.
I just want to report to a board that one of y'all's primary responsibilities is maintaining financial welfare of this district.
Right.
And when I come to you and say to you, Lee, if y'all ask me, where is it going to be? And all I can say is, well, somewhere between negative 300,000 up to $3 million plus. Is that really fair to anybody in this room? I don't think it is. So that's just an inadequacy of this software. I mean, I think we spoke to a district the other day. They said the header's within $34. I'm like, I can't do that. I mean, somewhere plus or minus $3 million, and I'm like, that's frustrating.
I want y'all to know that Mr. Wascom, I was up here speaking with him, and he was frustrated, and I could tell of his frustration. But coming from another board, as a matter of fact, the Council on Aging, I see it all the time, and then it calculates up. And Jay was one of the ones who helped us understand that, and I think some of the board members who've been on there here before understand how it all of a sudden calculate. But I'm pleased that you want to find a way to actually, as an accountant, account.
Well, but there should be no financial director needs to be handed a tool that cannot give y'all a reasonable understanding of where we stand. Like right now, I can tell you the July report, which is the next report for July, is if y'all see it, there's another report in there, it's just for the month of July. It says $3,960,000 in the general fund, but I can tell you, that's what was deposited. There may actually be more revenue in that number, but that's only what was deposited.
But we'll help you get there.
No, this is a long process,
As a board.
but I will tell you, it was a month ago or so, I was nervous. If you might remember, if you look back at your past reports, we were showing $5 million surplus, right? And then all of a sudden, I came to y'all last time, and we were like in the whole 900,000. I said, look, I know there's more revenue coming. And then, you know, today we got down to negative 320,000, but still what's frustrating about this is, if you were to ask me where it comes from, I can tell you, it has to do with posting. We do not post the revenue that we're about to receive until it actually hits the bank. And that means we may not receive it for the previous year. So that creates a time delay in reporting to y'all the accuracy. The next month, I will report to you the actual numbers for June 30. And,
You don't have a bucket to put it in, you don't have an entry that you make, and that's
it would be nice to make accounts receivable entry.
Exactly.
Right, but see, here's the problem. The problem, and the reason I do this is because we submit to the state government and the federal government for reimbursement of what we've fronted. But they may not always agree, so we ask for $100, they may pay us $80. And therefore, we have to eat the 20, but it has to do with what we bill versus what the actual result is. That's why we just wait for it to actually hit the bank. But this is still frustrating, because all year long, I give you all reports saying, warm and fuzzies all year long, and then all of a sudden, last month, I reported a $900,000 loss, which is concerning. So where did it all go? You know, what it is it's all money. We front the money for all these federal grants, and then when we get reimbursed, we post the revenue.
So there's no way to amortize any of that.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna try to see if I can do what I can to fix what we have, and then we'll see if we can't do better. I know we can do better what we have, but I just wanna let y'all know my frustration having gotten here. I always heard about this problem, but I never went through a June 30 close, and I can tell you now, I'm fully aware of the problem.
Thank you so very much. We're going to go forward and
Much better off than what we
receive.
were 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, we know you're concerned, man.
But I am happy to report, Jay Sheffield and I, along with Chad and Pat Rock, looked at all this, and we feel very confident that our next report will be in the plus. It could be higher than $3 million.
Well, here comes some other good news, because I'm hearing from principals and things that said that our maintenance department is doing so much better in getting, and I think Ms. Page probably can concur with me. Come on, Mr. Shirley.
How are y'all today?
Great.
As you can see on our report, it looks a little different than it did the last time. Would y'all like me to bore you with all the details? I can. Just hitting some highlights on here. I won't hit it all. It's in front of y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to ask as we go. So far, we've done a lot of our gym floors in our buildings. They're looking very, very good. It's hard to believe me taking a gym floor that's 50 years old and make it look as good as they have. It's wonderful. I'm taking a look at the grounds. I told y'all the last time we were taking a look at different things on the ground. We figured out that there's a lot to be done.
Yes, sir.
We're struggling to get that done due to lack of individuals that actually can do it. So we're actually going out looking for some outside help for his tree and shrub removal for his here at the central office, at the central warehouse. At some of the schools, we have some going on as well. I'm hoping to get the quotes and all that to Lee pretty soon and see what we can do on that. Lakeview, one of the good things we got done out there is we replaced the fire panel. It has been down, been giving trouble, so we have that underway, and it's actually replaced, but we have a little inspection left to do on it, and then they should be good to go. Marthaville, the same way. We've struggled with that, from what I understand, for the last year and a half, getting that building back up to code and to where it's actually usable. It's done, it's ready to go, we've tested it, so things are good. NJH, we're actually in the process of changing the fire panel out in it, so it's coming down the line. Trying to think of Natchitoches Central, we should have our AC up and going hopefully tomorrow afternoon in it. That it's looking good. We've got a lot of the floors in and wax. Starting to move classrooms back in. The fencing has been removed from the front if no one has gone and looked.
It looks really
It looks wonderful. All the shrubbery you see that's out of hand, that has actually been given a PO to be taken care of, so that should start hopefully the first of next week, and we can get rid of all that shrubbery in the front that makes it look so, our marquee sign look so bad. Trying to think of anything else. Okay, guys, I gave y'all a booth folder, if everyone can see your booth folder. This is a program that I'm pushing for several reasons. Right now, we have zero inventory for our guys to work with as far as having parts stored at schools. For instance, we have to drive to Goldonna, see what's wrong with something, and we have to turn around and come back to town and get parts. And if we go back out there and we fix this and something else goes wrong, so we spend a lot of time traveling back and forth, unnecessary travel. So what this system does, it's a set of lockers that this company will come set up. There's no charge to the school and no charge to us. We will give them an inventory of what we would like to see posted at each school to kind of cut down on that. That is not charged to us until we remove it from said machine. So, for instance, if we wanted safety glasses in this machine at Natchitoches Central, they will not, or we will not, be billed for it until we remove it from that machine. So what that does is it works on our badge system. So nobody can walk up there and use that machine without having a badge with a number. So the number that's on your badge, if you walk up to that machine, if you have access to it, you may get it. But if you don't have access to it, you can't get it. We're looking to extend this to janitorial supplies. We're looking to extend it to, we've even seen applications in food service, where we'll actually work for food service, so they can store some of their dried goods and different things. This system is as big as we want it to be. And the fun part of it is it's free. Until we take it out of that machine, it is not charged to the school or the school board in any sort of fashion until we remove it from this machine.
Inventory control.
Inventory control.
And accountability.
Yes. If you take it out, I can see exactly who took it out, what time they took it out, how many they took out. Another good side of it is, if we set a par level in this machine for one specific item to be 10, when that par level reaches 5, it automatically sends an email to me. And if anybody else wanted to be included on that, say it's a food service item, it would send it to Ms. Hicks. And this company would automatically restock that par level back to 10. So once you set your par level of your max and then your min, and as soon as it gets to that min, it sends an email to me, it sends an email to the company, and to whomever else we decide needs that email. So it's a very, very good system. It's going to take it'll probably take it a year to get it implemented throughout, but we're going to start slowly implementing in my department so we can get the kinks ironed out and figure out what's what, who's who. Plus, we'll have to get an inventory list from us and from Ms. Hicks and different things on what kind of floor cleaners and disinfectants we use and all that. So it's a big system. It could be a money save. Well, I say could be. It will be a money saving system on more than one front for theft, lost products, unneeded inventory that we pay for up front that we actually stock in the warehouse that we never use. So
But is there like an excessive charge? Let's say somebody needs some safety goggles. Are they charging like $25 when you take it out?
No, ma'am. It's state contract. So we get state contract pricing on all the items that go in that machine. So, for
Like
instance.
how much
Okay.
would goggles be?
Okay, for instance, we actually was looking up some of our products. If I go to Stein's and buy a valve, okay, from Stein's to fix a toilet in this building, okay?
Mhm.
This valve is $25 if I go pick it up. If I put it in this machine on state contract, it's $9. So you're basically looking at that amount of savings. Now, all of them won't be that extreme. Now, you may be able to go to Stein's and get a light bulb for $4, and I may be able to put it in the machine for $3. But everything, as far as you going out and buying it in the general public compared to what we can put it in there for and have them put it in there for, is gonna be a significant saving.
So is the main thing that a lot of times, like say a toilet goes out here and we don't have the product in the, we have no other option but to go to Stein's or Walmart.
Right.
Whereas this is you're gonna have a free way to store inventory
Right.
for when we need it.
Instead of us having to order $100,000 worth of inventory and taking 5 to this school and 5 to this school and 5 to this school, we set these machines up, they come in, we tell them what we want, when we want, how much we want, they put them in there, we do not pay for it, anything until it comes out of that machine.
And another thing that comes obsolete, you're responsible for.
Exactly.
So we use this in industry.
That's right. Yeah.
And with PPE, Mike's familiar with it, PPE, it's a dead.
Right, and see,
You don't have to
this is the
work
good
out,
thing about it.
handing out stuff and all that.
Right, and this is the good thing about it. We can actually take this and compare it at any given time to one of many vendors that may be able to do it. But in my past, I've had Granger, I've had Fastenal, I've had another company. Fastenal has given us the best prices over the board, but we still, when we make this inventory list, we're gonna check with those other vendors to make sure before we decide this is the one we want. So.
It's just like, say, on a larger scale, industry-wide, like they was talking about, it does not pay you to buy and own anything that you can have on consignment and never pay for it until you use it. It cuts down on your warehouse, on your capital gains taxes, and across the board with all the entities and everything involved in that parish school board. We, International Paper Company, does our same program through MSC. We don't buy anything that we can keep on on consignment and not pay for until the day we actually have to use it. The great thing about the accountability is at any given time, you can get a readout. If you've got an employee that checks 10 pairs of gloves out, you know exactly who got them.
Amen.
So if he cleans it out, you know exactly where to go. So it's a great, great tool for accountability. And it will keep you from losing product and wasting stuff in a warehouse or having it taken home and used for personal, private, things at home, which we know by human nature will happen if you're not able to track it.
And
So these programs are absolutely foolproof.
That's good stuff.
It works.
I don't see a need for him to get a vote of the board to approve this program, but is that, do y'all, because it's a state contract and it's free. Is there a need for that? No? Okay. We were gonna go ahead and start implementing this program if y'all are okay.
Well, we'll make sure we all clear on that.
Well, Billy and I are familiar with it, so.
Yeah, I got familiar with it the other day, and I was like,
Why haven't we done this before? One of the advantages of bringing Ryan in is his knowledge in this area.
Well, one of the things is we don't know what you gotta have, so,
Right.
and
And the main
goes
thing
out
is-
pretty fast, but.
Right, and the main thing is the vending machines don't cost us anything to put on site.
Right.
The material that we put in them don't cost us anything until we use it. It's the same items that I'm going and spending double to buy locally that I can have on hand.
so we're buying it anyway.
Yeah,
Right now.
And you got time.
But think about if you're in Marthaville, Provençal, Golden,
Right.
you're going out there, coming back to Steins, buying it, or to Elliott or wherever
Yeah.
we're going. Then we're driving back out. the amount of gas and mileage and also labor hours we're spending gets shortened greatly.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
a 1 hour project, if you have something on hand, turns into a 4 hour project if you have to go to Nacogdoches to get it.
Right.
Because there's nowhere out there that we can set up accounts where they have a hardware store where we can buy something close. You have to come into town. That is 30 miles from here to Goldon. So you're looking at an hour worth of travel just to go out there and come back. Okay, so you go out there, you get there, you need something, you come back, then you have to go back, then you have to come back, so.
Because I know you get those reports that people would ride.
Yes, that will cut down on my guys getting complaints that, hey, all we do is see you ride around all day.
Yeah.
So where are you gonna put them?
They will be located at each school, that's something I will have to
I
get
mean,
with
like where?
every school.
Every school will have.
Yeah.
I know, but like, do they, like in the cafeteria, you said maybe one day at the cafeteria, you're gonna put them in the cafeteria?
Right, no, what we would do is eventually we will figure out, and I'll have to talk with each principal and take it in consideration of where we can put them. We can make this system as big as we need or as little as we need. And then once we do it, if we do put the cafeteria stuff in there, it will not go in the cafeteria. Whatever area we design for this place and for these machines, it will just extend in there. They may have to walk a couple hundred feet to get to something, where instead of it being right there, if they want it in that locker. But we're not gonna have one set up over here and one set up over here. We'll just build as we go.
Yeah.
And we may get to the point where it may not be as good for food service as what we need it to be. But that's okay. If we build it and we don't need it, they can take it out. But if we don't have it and they need it, then we don't have it. So it can work two different ways.
Hey,
Well, good deal.
One of the things that really helps is with inventory control, you don't have to do max mins. Your people don't have to keep up with max rent. The issue of it and the accountability is all done electronically. It is a win all the way across the board.
Right.
You can't beat it.
Any other questions on the blue folder?
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Moving along right here, we're actually, Lee got us a company in here to look at our work order system. Currently our software and everything is out of date. We are moving forward with this system. It will allow our principals, us, IT, anybody and everybody on the move. It's a cloud-based system where they can put the work orders in from an app on their phone. When we receive this work order, we can actually comment on this work order, and when we hit send, it will actually go to them on their phone. It will allow us to do a PM program, which is preventive maintenance, which in the last few years, I can tell, it's kind of went downhill. It kind of get us ahead of the game instead of falling behind. Asset inventory management, like what machines have we put in the last couple of years for us, like food service equipment, what their warranties are. We can set it up to on the PM side to where if we need filters changed on it every so often, we can set it up to where it automatically generates a work order once a month to change said filter or to descale a steamer or however we want it to work. It will. The system we have now, it does not do that. It takes you 30 minutes to find a work order. I'll look for a work order that one of our principals put in today. I still haven't found it. I've been in that system, and there's no way to look other than chronological order, and I can't find it. This system is going to be very helpful to us as well.
Mr. Shirley, how long has it not been supported?
That I do not know. Mr. Cozette, you know?
How long has what not been
The
supported?
software not been supported for case.
We declined support on it last year just because the renewal amount was so high. We wanted to be open to moving forward at any given time. And the amount of support that was actually received the year prior included one minor software update that didn't really change anything. So we didn't see the value of it, and we already owned the appliance. So we just moved forward using it without any professional support. And actually no issue has arisen that we would have needed to call for professional support, so we saved something like $20,000 by just not paying for their warranty.
Yes. Agreed.
I would like to say something in regards to this program. Currently, if you have a problem at your school, you have to remember it. You have to take a picture, email it to your account, go back to your desk, how you pull it up, and you can only access our work order system through that. This creates some problems. If you have it on your phone, you can take a picture of your problem in the field, send it off and create a work order. It's not a problem. This is a big deal. This whole program only costs $5,500 a year, and it's completely cloud-based. So you said it was $20,000. The previous one was $20,000 a year. This would be $5,000 a year.
That might have been
Far
for
superior
multiple,
product.
that might have been for a few years, but,
But anyhow, this is a significant improvement, and it's always gonna be kept up to date. And so I just wanna let y'all know, we do have a lot of complaints and the ongoing nature of maintenance. A part of the problem is, I hate doing it. If I go out anywhere, I have to come back to my desk and I have to remember, now, what was I supposed to do? And you have to sit there and figure it, because you can only put this stuff in and receive them from a desktop. This will allow us all to be mobile and receive and respond in the field. And it's going to be a vast improvement on this. So
We have a lot of complaints from our principals where they have to go back, but not only do they have to go back to their desk, but if they wanted to look at the status of a work order and they're not sitting at their desk, then if they're clear on one side of the campus, then they have to go all the way back to the other side, sit down at their desk and check this one. There's an app on your phone. You can just, makes it super simple. Does anybody have any questions? What? Thank y'all.
All right, thank you so much. Let's move expeditiously because y'all may be here 7, but I'm gonna be leaving at 6:45.
I'll be short and sweet tonight. Good news, we received word today. I was on our monthly state call that our USDA reimbursement, which was about $247,000, is expected mid to late August. So that was a little sooner than I had anticipated. Equipment update, everything has been ordered. In fact, the freezer for Marthaville is already being manufactured at this point. It's in process and is expected the first week of September. Problem solve cooler and freezer are expected mid to late September. And the rest of it, when I checked up today, they said, you know, it's been ordered and she's gonna get back to me with a little bit closer timeline that I could share with y'all next month. But other than that, we're just gearing up, getting ready for the kids. Food's coming in, everything looks great. We're excited, we're ready to go. Y'all have any questions for me?
You ended the budget in the positive.
And I ended the budget in the positive, that was great.
Great. I know y'all already looked and perused the consent agenda, so not recorded tonight. Mr. Danny.
First item is A, permission to advertise for bids.
We currently show none at this time. One will be added to Thursday.
Okay.
Which will be presented to y'all later.
Okay. Item B, take appropriate action on the bids, and you do have some.
I do have the bids that as they came in, numerous people gave bid. They were all bidding on 3 different projects, and all their responses to that project are here. Y'all can see it here. It took 2 pages to fill it out. Recommendation is listed to go with A&G Computer Services. They provided substantial savings over our budgeted numbers.
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
I mean, if you just take a look at it, you can see the significant savings on each line by line. Over the other, what we had 4 total vendors bidding on 3 different projects.
Item number C, rapid effective schools grant.
We have Ms. Rochelle.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Rochelle. Welcome, Ms. Bell. The Rapides Foundation is a grant that we have received over the last couple of years. Most recently, it is used to support mathematical success in grades K through 8 I'm just here tonight to get permission for Dr. Eloy to sign and accept these funds of $142,000 to be used as outlined in the grant proposal. And our goal is to build capacity within each school to sustain high academic standards in math. Any questions? Free money. So it's good. Thank you.
That curriculum involved same that curriculum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Item D, COVID leave.
Okay, there has been no federal extension of the COVID leave, so it's not mandatory, it's at our discretion. I will tell you that if we decide to adopt whatever policy there might be, we do have money in ESSER 3 to pay for it to cover it. Last year, our total COVID leave cost us $368,000, which was reimbursed by the stimulus money.
And I'd just like to touch base with y'all real quick. About a month ago, I told Lee about this, and I was on the other side of this. But with the change in the Delta variant and the fourth surge, the caseload today statewide was higher than it's ever been. So I would have told you before that we should not extend COVID leave because no other district was, but I think the situation that has arisen in the past 3 weeks, if we want to encourage people to stay home when they are sick or even have slight symptoms, because it starts like as a cold or an allergy thing, I believe we need to encourage them by providing the COVID leave.
Some consideration might be, do we want to make any adjustments to what we adopted last year? This is strictly.
With the COVID leave, if we've offered them the shots and everything, and don't take the shots and catch it, do we have to pay them?
That's a part of the policy y'all need to
I do believe that's a little bit of a political hot potato. As y'all know, people's differing beliefs on the vaccine, unless your desire is to encourage the vaccine through that vote. But I also believe that based on the number of breakthrough cases, we would be somewhat splitting hairs because we're seeing less severe cases in the vaccinated and less severe outcomes, but at the same time, we are seeing those. And I have talked to many districts, and I haven't heard of any. I heard of 1 or 2 considering that, but I think they have decided not to consider it. Although there are companies and private entities that are doing that.
Because I feel like, if you went out and took the vaccine, trying to protect yourself and all that other faculty, and then you got some that won't take it, I think that if they don't have their 10 days sick leave automatic, they need to use that, and if they don't have it, that's they believe, whatever, we shouldn't be penalizing. I can see if you'd had the vaccine and then catch it, yeah, let's give them days, but if you is out there to take it, you ought to take it. If not, that's your belief, you don't want to take it, you ought to not be paid for it.
I don't disagree with the thought behind that, the logic behind that. The only thing I would say is secondary to all this is we are still in a fight to retain people, and I would hate to lose some good folks to other parishes that aren't doing that. It's not that I disagree with you in the logic. I just anything we can do to retain our folks, I would like to do.
Whatever decision.
Retaining the folks too, we got what's not taken, then they go give it to somebody else, and we might not be able to retain that. We might be going to a funeral.
But if we're offering voluntary COVID testing,
Free.
mitigate some of that.
Well, y'all will be voting on that. So, trust me. Right now, I see merit in a lot of the things we're talking about because there's just a million things out there, and we're all trying to build the ship as we sail it.
I love the diversity of this board.
I will say this, whatever decision you call, whether to do the vaccinated or both groups, unvaccinated and vaccinated, the federal money will cover whatever y'all decide.
Yes.
And we are still getting 19% of that through indirect costs.
Correct, and you get indirect costs of whatever. So like last year, we had $368,000, it cost us we add on 20% of that just went into the general fund.
And another option, if the person refuses to get vaccinated, can we require them to be tested periodically to make sure that they?
No, ma'am. So.
I agree with Ms. McClure that if they're not gonna take the shot, and we don't know whether or not they could be asymptomatic.
So it is my understanding because the vaccine, what's the terminology I'm trying to get here? It's not been fully FDA approved.
Yeah.
That's where the legal kind of maneuvering is and discussion. And I'll be honest with y'all, I feel like there's so many different, we are so fractured on our opinions on this vaccination. And I've already told you that I believe in following the science, I do. But I also focused on us moving forward as a district instructionally, and I would hate for us to fracture over that. Although I do take Mr. McGuire's point seriously, because there is a seriousness to this that we have to be aware of, and so I'm trying to balance those two things, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I just want to reiterate, it does not injure us to cover it.
I have a question. Are HIPAA laws implemented throughout all of this?
Yes.
Okay.
And it becomes frustrating at times, but it is.
Okay.
We can't say a thing.
Okay.
Before you move on, are we talking about COVID quarantine pay, or are we talking about the FMLA to take care of family?
Leave as implemented last year.
We would want to follow, we are suggesting to follow the same program last year, which would include if, say, your child is sick with COVID or a spouse or whoever lives in the house and you're taking care of them and you're the only caregiver, then we would want to apply it to that as well.
Just make it clear.
Yep.
Item L.
Yes, the 21-22 budget, by state statute, it has to be adopted by, is that right?
Yeah.
No, we did
You're right. You're right.
We were supposed to adopt this year's budget by the 15th of September. Our board meeting on the 9th of September would be the one I would like to do it. We have to advertise it and have it where it would be here public. I have sent y'all an email, I hope all of you received it, about a schedule in which we're gonna follow. I'm gonna try to invite more people, more directors to be directly involved in their own budget so they can give me some insight as to their true needs. That will terminate at this Friday, and we will start actually compiling everything. And then I'll follow the schedule that's presented to you guys. Okay? Also wanted to say one more thing before David Keys comes up here with the next, I'd like to say there are 7 construction projects underway. Epic Touch, I'm sure y'all probably wonder where things are with Epic Touch. It is illegal. Our attorney referred to their attorney about some issues since it is being provided by state funding, there's some special things we need in our contract. The contract has not been signed. That should be resolved hopefully in a couple of weeks, and I'm sorry, but it's just the more they dove into it, the more they wanted to get it right. So we went over budget adoptions. I just want to let y'all know that we have gym floors and playgrounds, or either have been refinished or brand new. NACA Central is ongoing construction. We also have removed the fencing there. Goldana is getting a new roof as soon as the materials arrive. We still have supply chain issues. East and Weaver, there you'll see a lot of changes there, as well as some fence removal. Magnet has also, as long as LP Bond, this is all the restroom repair and all that. So all the schools that have elementary or have new playground equipment.
Where's the playground?
The playground? At what school?
LP Vaughn?
LP Vaughn has 3 of them, brand new ones. They have a pre-K, a junior, out front is the 1st and 2nd grade, and we're going to put a fence around it. That's coming up, and then we got 2 on the left-hand side of LP Vaughn. That's for pre-K. There's already one there for Head Start, and now there's one for pre-K and for kindergarten. And they got the little rubber pellets. It's not the sawdust that blows away. It's all well. It's a very good. I think y'all should be very happy. Marthaville, I know, has theirs, and if they don't have them yet, they'll be installed soon.
I wanted to get with y'all on that and just let you know where the district is. Are there any other questions about construction? It's a lot to manage, but the media center has been renewed. Y'all get a chance to go take a look at it. It looks great. It's basically, if you want a kind of a preliminary vision of what I have in mind for this building, go take a look at that building. It's all been repainted and redone and lit up, and it looks really nice. That concludes that. And I'd like to invite David Keys up to briefly present something for our 3121 option plan.
Did they all get copies of this? We sent that email to you?
No, I don't know that they did.
Fire off some copies.
Okay.
Won't take long. What we're gonna do is talk about the 3121 plan that you guys authorized, I think, a couple of months ago. And what we're going to do is try to give you an alternative to that. Change it just a little bit. Dr. Eloy and Mr. Wascom and myself and these two gentlemen back here, I'm going to ask them to come up, have been in discussions about how to handle this, and so that's what we're going to talk about. I apologize, I thought Lee had given y'all copies of this. I'm going to pass this out, so each one of you will have one. That's just for me. That's all the legal stuff I have to pass out when I talk to people about securities and investing. So you can have that right there. Here we go. Why don't y'all come on up? I'll let these gentlemen say that. This is Mr. Matt Cosby and Mr. David Wernz. They are with Wernz and Associates in Shreveport. They are third-party administrators for retirement plans. So basically what we're talking about is a retirement plan for the long-term and short-term uncertified teachers that you have in the system. So once everybody gets this, let's go ahead and, Mr. Benfield, I'll read it into the record. Thank you. Action item, authorize the administration to implement a plan, and it is hard to read these things out, that utilizes IRC 401A with a 414H provision to cover temporary, long-term, and short-term uncertified teachers pursuant to IRC Section 3121B7F. Supporting information. Social Security contributions for temporary, long-term, and short-term uncertified teachers will be eliminated. The employer will contribute 0.5% of pay, and participating employees will have a mandatory pre-tax contribution of 7% of pay made to a 401A plan in lieu of contributing 6.2% after tax to Social Security. Medicare contributions of 1.45% will continue. You don't have a choice on that. All employee contributions plus earnings are 100% vested and available for withdrawal upon termination of the plan. The cost to implement the plan is $1,200 and covers the cost of a 401A plan document. Annual ongoing cost of the plan administration to the employer is an annual base fee of $1,800, which is what these gentlemen do. The cost of the record keeping deducted from the employee's account balance is $50 annually. The record keeping cost will be deducted every quarter when participant statements are generated at $12.50 a quarter. The vendor selected to provide third-party administrative and record-keeping services is Leon E. Wernz and Associates. The vendor responsible for the financial advisory services is David Keys with SafePoint Financial. So we are...
If I may interrupt, do y'all remember in May we passed something like this? Yeah. This would override that. We had decided to pick off just 2 classes. It's too complicated to get everybody, but we were optional in the past adoption. This makes it mandatory. These 2 classes of employees would be a part of this plan.
And let me just say real quick, I know that mandatory word is scary, but right now, we have, if you are in TRSL, you are not opting into Social Security as well. So it's giving them a version of TRSL. It's just the verbiage, I think, mandatory. Well, TRSL is mandatory, and it's in lieu of Social Security. Well, so is TRSL. This is the same thing, but for those classes of employees. and will not change their pay, based on our discussions. They won't lose any pay on the bottom line, and then they will have access to this money if they terminate their plan. So, because if you recall, they were not putting enough into Social Security to get the benefits of Social Security. So, I just wanted to go over those things because I know initially we talked about mandatory being that dirty word, but that's the reason, and maybe y'all can explain it even better as to why mandatory is important.
I'll turn that over to you, Pat.
Yeah, basically as a plan sponsor, the school board has the ability to set up specific classes that they want to cover. The Section 3121 will not allow you to opt in or out at participant level, but what it will allow you to do is to set up classes to be covered. And I think with discussions with Dr. Eloy and Mr. Lee, those were the two classes that would benefit most from having this type of plan that would be an option to being covered under Social Security. So it is optional as far as which classes you cover, but if you're in that class, you will be covered by the FICA replacement plan.
And this is all safe harbor. If they leave, they take 100%.
Yes, sir. That term safe harbor is used a lot in our industry, but it is fully vested money, and it is portable when they leave.
Right.
And just to reiterate, I was very apprehensive about this until I think one of y'all said, well, TRSL is a FICA replacement plan as well. Which as a school board employee, I've been in TRSL for 15 years, I'm in a FICA replacement plan.
And it's mandatory.
And it's mandatory.
And just to follow up on what you said, Mr. Benefield, it probably needs to be clear, since it's going to work a whole lot like 401k plan or TRSL. The employee cannot access this money unless they leave or they retire. Okay, so it is not designed to be a glorified savings account. It is there for retirement purposes. So just to make sure you brought that up, and I want to just.
So no loans, no withdrawal. That's great. That locks it in.
Right. Now, what I will do is I will provide the advisory services, probably what we're going to do. If some of you already have brokerage accounts or retirement accounts somewhere, you may be familiar with the American funds. I've used them a lot. We're going to use the American funds, R3 shares. There is no commission up front. There's a slight 0.5% trail fee that I am paid, just so you know that how I get paid on this. So they drop $50,000 in 1 year, I get a whopping $250. Okay. So what we're going to do, if you look in your folder over here on the left-hand side, there's a little bit about what my business does. I do have an assistant, a registered assistant, Larry Nichols. She can't be here this week, but she will be working with me, and you can see what we offer and the products that we use. But what I wanted to point out were the value-added services that we'll give all of the people that actually, the whole school board if you want them. We'll provide a free analysis of their current financial situation, offering valuable suggestions for a sound financial future. So if they're willing to give us the information, if you're willing to give us the information, we'll do a financial plan. Okay? Free of charge. That's what we're going to offer them. In addition to that, they're going to get a free monthly market analysis. So every month they're going to get an analysis, going to have a video on it that will talk about what the markets did the previous month. And then most importantly, they're going to have local people. They're accessible by phone, email, or they can come to our office to visit them. So I think that last one is something that you probably don't have right now, even in your 457 and 403B plans, which I'll be glad to talk to you about. But we're going to provide that local service. These folks are going to keep us compliant, make sure that we're following the rules.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
No, I think it's wonderful that it can be explained before someone dives into this. This is great because, where do you want to put your money? Have no clue. How much you want to hold out? Don't have a clue. I think it's
And Mr. Benfield, we've run, I will tell you this, I have, professionally, I have rolled over several of your 457 plans. They're currently with Lincoln. They have a group there near the year. Invariably, I sit down with these people, they bring me a statement, I said, who helped you with this? Hey, do you even know what you're in? No. They don't have anybody to talk to. Now, those people are outside what we're proposing here. But I've already talked to Lee and Mr. Eloy about maybe fixing that problem too. But it's very important. You have a fiduciary responsibility. You might not like that word, but you have a responsibility. If you're going to sponsor a retirement plan, you have to make sure that they're communicated with, that they know what they're doing, they know what's available, they know what the rules are. And I can tell you right now, having worked with some of your retired teachers already, they don't. They don't know who to call. They don't know anything. And so I can fix that for you. I'd be glad to. And we'll fix it on this plan. So, any questions?
Right. When will you implement
it? We will implement it as soon as y'all tell us to. We're pretty much ready to go. Let me tell you what I have to do. I think probably since we've got, how many, 72 of these?
At least 77 from last year.
Okay. So 77 people that are under this particular resolution. So I've asked Lee to provide us an email list for those people. And Laramie is going to get in touch with them via email. We'll just set up one last email, send it out to them. And then probably we'll have to coordinate with principals and everybody else to go to the various schools and get these folks signed up. We're not going to make them come to our place, when they get out. We'll do whatever's convenient for them. But that's basically the way we'll have to do it. So if you're telling me that you want to implement starting next week, well, we'll start. Talk to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, President Harris had to leave, and so we're going to move on to number 8. Unless you had anything else, Mr. Deans?
No, I did.
The personnel report, Ms. Linda Page. A, consider approving new positions.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I usually don't ask for much, but I am going to ask you something tonight. Can you honestly say you're not impressed with our team? I'm waiting on it.
Your team?
Our team, our district team. We have money now. We have resources. We've received with overwhelming response some of our prodigal sons and daughters back to the district. Some have come out of retirement. And I just feel like we're offering something that we've not offered in a long time in spite of all that's going on. And so I just want to thank you for your overwhelming support with our decisions and ask that we continue to have that. So did anybody answer though? Are you not impressed with our team?
We are impressed.
Very impressed. All right, so let's look at our report. As you can see, we have what we normally have, but we're keeping up with retirements and resignations. We're balancing that with new hires and transfers. Do you have any questions about what we have on here?
Ms. Page,
Yes, sir.
in the last week or so, we lost a former school food service leader within our parish. Can we, can you remind us to have a moment of silence for that person at our Thursday meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions concerning this?
Okay, item B is new position, office secretary.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It won't open.
Here, it's
It's in your package.
Oh, absolutely.
Look in your packets.
I think it's been, yeah, mine is too.
One of them opened up in one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is where your packet is in the packet first.
I'm actually gonna have Mr. Fonda come up and explain to you what it is, what it is not, and who's going to pay for it.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Cassandra Anderson. For those who do not know me, I am the supervisor for early childhood, Bible, and health. And I am housed over there at the Media Center, the Hilton, as Dr. Elo would call it. I would like you guys to consider approving 3 new positions. And I'm going to give you a little background behind that before I go into that. In 2015, we applied, the early childhood team and I, we applied and we received a grant called the Natchitoches Parish Early Childhood Network Grant. And with grants, we have several guidelines and stipulations. And the one thing that I think that came out of this grant is it encouraged us to work with Head Start and child care centers. And so we're collaborating with them almost monthly, if not more often. So with this grant, the network divided and we conquered to make sure that we adhere to all of the guidelines in the grant. In 2019, we applied for another grant and we received a grant, and it's called the Ready Start Network, also known as the Ready Start Natchitoches, RSN. We developed a governance structure with bylaws. We have a president, Dr. David, maybe I'm calling him Dr. David Dollar. We have representatives from Head Start, representatives from NSU, the city of Natchitoches, Natchitoches Parish School Board, our very own Mrs. Palmer. And then we also have a representative from the Orchard Foundation, Child Care Centers, Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Laura Lau, and our former mayor, Posey, and our current mayor, Mr. Williams. And again, we divided and conquered to adhere to all of the grants. 2020, we applied and received a couple of grants, totaling $300,000. Again, we divided, the network divided and conquered to make sure we adhere to the grant. Well, in 2021, we applied and received a total of well over $500,000 in grants. And with more grants, you know, you have more guidelines. So we're all divided and conquered out. So therefore, we're asking for extra help. This grant will pay for these people that we're asking for. We're asking for the Early Childhood Family and Community Engagement Coordinator. That person will be in charge of encouraging family involvement, engagement, encouraging community engagement, and also trying to screen our youngest students to make sure that they are screened in a proper manner. We're also asking for a community outreach liaison. That person is going to be part-time and will be contracted, a contracted person. And we're asking for that person to be knowledgeable of the community so that they can tell everybody how important early childhood is and early education is. And then the third one is that person will be in charge of our B to 3 seats. And before I leave here, I'm going to tell you guys, I want you to help me get the word out. We have birth through 3-year-old. We can provide free child care assistance to birth to 3-year-olds, anybody that has a child from birth to 3 at any of our child care centers. So if you guys know of anybody in that position, please get the word out, because we went from 25 seats to 50 seats, and we have to fill these seats. And we're trying to fill them before September the 30th.
So, Ms. Cassandra, I think the burning question, and I think you somewhat answered it, but I want you to go back to it. The funding for these positions, can you speak to
The
that?
funding will come from the grants that we received. And as I stated before, we received over $500,000 in the grants. And we have different pots of grants. We have the B to 3 grant, which we went from having 25 seats to 50 seats. So that person will be paid from the B to 3 as well as our lead agency. The other 2 will be paid from our, it is a supply building grant that we received, and it's a big pot of money. We can't do it on our own, so we need help in order to do it. So it will not come from general funds. It's gonna come from our grant, and I know how important it is to continue to write grants and make sure that we keep them in place, and that's what my intentions are to do.
How many years is the grant?
The grant is, the supply building grant is for at least 3 years. More if necessary, but we started off with, I think they gave me $200,000 for that grant, and the following year is $500,000, and then the following year it depends on how well we're able to implement the grant.
Oh,
Yeah.
based on performance. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we need to make sure that we're performing at or above level, and I prefer above. Any other questions?
Are there any scholarship applications available for?
If you know of anybody that would like to, you're talking about with the B to 3 seats for the child care assistant?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. If you know of anyone that is in need of a seat or a spot, I look at her because we were telling her seats, and she's like, "What are seats?" But if you know of anybody that is, or if they're in need of a spot, please have them to go to Teaching Tomorrow Now, NOW.com, and click on the pre-application page, and then click on apply.
And I'm assuming we're gonna be putting that out through our stuff and also the Early Childhood Network.
We have a flyer that's gonna go out, and that flyer, hopefully, the lady that was in charge of helping us with childcare, she is out for maternity leave, so hopefully she can help us to get that flyer out to everybody in Natchitoches Parish. But I'm asking that you guys help us get the word out, and I'm really ecstatic about getting those extra seats and serving our youngest learners.
Well, you have one. I signed up my son yesterday on your website.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
at LP Long, and I was told to go directly to the website. And my daughter, we had to do the paper registration, so you have one.
49. Right.
49 to go.
Right. Any other questions?
Thank you so
Thank you so much.
So moving on to the executive report, item A, LDH voluntary testing program for NPSB, Dr. Ely.
Yes, ma'am. I would love to have Dr. Deason come up, and my apologies to her. I would have put her earlier if I knew we would have been so long in our discussions. But this is a program through LSU-HS that will do voluntary, let's say that again, voluntary testing for all staff and students at all schools.
Yes. Okay, so the program is it's statewide, and this is a federal grant, and LSU Health Shreveport received the contract for regions 5 through 8. So that's your Lake Charles, Alexandria, Shreveport, and Monroe hubs for the Louisiana Department of Health. We have 32 parishes that we're working with, and there are 3 options. And option 2 is by far the best option because that means you're partnering with us. Option 1 is you want to do it yourself, and I think Dr. Eli really wants to do this one, huh? But basically, it's more designed for your schools that have nursing staff there and can handle doing it on their own. You get a little bit more money from LDH that way, but you're all on your own to do it. I can provide you more information on that if you're interested in it, but I don't know that as well as I know option 2. Option 2 is kind of your turnkey option. It is, we do everything. You will get, each school gets $14.5 thousand, $14,500 for, to kind of compensate for, whatever personnel that is our liaison in coordinating this. It's gonna be very individualized, what works best for each school. We will have teams of 4 going into schools, and it is, voluntary, and there has to be consent. It is HIPAA compliant. And if there's questions, please raise your hand, shout out to me, whatever. Because I've been living and breathing this so much, I want to make sure I give you what you need to know to make an informed decision. We'll start out, we'll have teams that will go to each school. I will coordinate with all of your administrators on a practice that works best for them. Our goal is to start before school and end by noon, and it will vary on what works best for each school. Monday through Thursday is our goal. We may be doing some on Friday, but we have to get all the samples to Shreveport and have them processed overnight. So they are PCR tests. The students will be doing just the 3/4 of an inch into their nose swab, so kind of like picking their nose, and all of our babies know how to do that well. So it's just it's not the brain tickling test that all of us have probably experienced at some point or another. And they can be taught to self-swab. So they are going to, as long as they're supervised by one of our staff, swab on one side, swab on the other, put it in, done. And it takes less than 30 seconds to do the test. I am an educator. I am a doctor, but I'm not medical. And I was a principal this last year through COVID. So it is extremely important to me that the classroom time is minimal disruption. I want it to be as seamless as possible. For schools, middle school, high school, I envision more of at transition times, you know, the kids that are testing, because not everybody's going to test. So the kids who do have consent, they'll either go to a designated location or multiple locations depending on the size of the school, and they will do their test at transition times. For the little ones, I envision the team going around from class to class. And then when they get to your classroom and you've got 10 kids in that classroom that are testing, they just line up, walk outside, test, go right back and sit down and move on to the next class so that instruction takes place. The ultimate goal of this program is to keep kids healthy, staff healthy, and in school. I know virtual is an option for some and needed for some, but ultimately the best learning takes place when you're in the classroom. And that's what I love about this program. It can keep a good radar on what the virus is doing in your school. That gives peace of mind to your families and your staff who are very afraid. And there's also a financial benefit through Department of Health. So each child or staff that consents to testing, they will get $25 their first test and $10 each additional test. So, I mean, that can rack up to some nice little savings for a family or for a student or for staff over the year. Just a kind of a little bit of a compensation. With most medical testing, they give some type of compensation, and this is how LDH is handling this one.
And it's also $40,000 to the district, as well
Yes,
as the
yes.
$14,500 to each school.
Yes.
So
I mean, there is financial gain for the parish, and we're going to do most of the work. That's why we're calling it the turnkey option. The most work that your schools are going to have to do is just to communicate with us on what's best practice for their school.
And option 3 is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, board, last year we had a ton of kids test, parents go and test. We're going to be doing the same thing, but in this case, it's a win-win for all of us. And, you know, I know there's people who are adamantly opposed to this. They don't have to opt in.
Right.
There's no pressure to opt in on this.
So what's the turnaround time on the?
If we test you on Monday, by Tuesday at midnight, results will be available. And when there is registration, the consent and everything is done through the registration process, and it's done through the online platform of Color is the name of the company that we're using. They will either register that they want results sent to them by text or by email. And so they'll get either a link emailed to them or texted to them, and then they go through that link. So it's not like popping up on their phone, you know, a result. They have to go into that, and they set which preference they want. And that's how we get paid, is do we deliver results in a timely manner.
And board, my biggest concern about this was not that we don't want to reveal who has the virus, but the assumption may have been last year we had a lot of asymptomatic cases, and this could reveal those cases to us. But if you remember, with the masking, if you're masking appropriately, we're not going to see those mass quarantines. So in conjunction with this, it's really more of an early detection system than it is, oh my gosh, little Billy tested positive, his whole class goes home.
We're hoping they're all negative. I mean, that would be the best thing, but to catch those early signs as quickly as possible. If there is a child that is symptomatic at school, one, they shouldn't be at school if they're symptomatic, but if they become symptomatic while they're at school, we can do a rapid test. So we will have that flexibility. Yes.
Just, you can correct me if I'm wrong, so this would be some sort of form of contact tracing, so to speak?
The contact tracing, if you got a positive, and part of the registration, there would be consent for us to communicate with one designated school leader. So it wouldn't like go out to the school. So if it's your principal, it's going to go to the principal. They have a dashboard to keep track of everything. But then LDH and the school would communicate through the contact tracing.
Is it just for school and teachers, or is it for the public, or?
Just for school and teachers, it's specific in the grant. Now, Dr. Van Cherry, if you've watched the news from Shreveport at all, that's who I work with. I'm the program coordinator, and he's the program director. And he's fantastic. If you haven't heard him, he speaks sound medical information without creating fear. I love that about him. He's just so good to listen to. But he was in How to Go to Caddo school board meeting. But he has also said that if a family needs testing, we will coordinate that through a different pocket of money. So if you have a child who is sick and the family needs to be tested, then we can kind of coordinate that. Can't use that money, but we have a lot of other grants at LSU. So.
Well, thank you so much for traveling here and then listening to our really interesting stuff.
Yes.
So I appreciate it.
Do y'all have any other questions? Okay, he has my contact information, so please let me know if anything comes up. Thank you so much.
Dr. Elor, will we have on the website the parameters, all volunteer, all whatever on the website?
Yes, sir. We're gonna, if y'all vote in the affirmative, when we put this out there, I'm gonna talk to Ms. Paris, and she's usually very good about hitting those high points, but then the highest of these high points are two things. One, this is a measure to keep your kids safe, and two, it is voluntary. I think those are the two important things when we communicate this message.
And you do have a 30-day opt-in or opt-out, so if a family wants to start participating, we can add them too. So, if you only have a certain amount that register, we can still add to the testing as we go on. We just have to know to schedule it and make sure we have enough staff and everything like that.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, item B is amendment to 21-22 handbook, Dr. Eloy.
Yes, ma'am. And guys, real quick, I'll be very quick and apologetic on this. There was a mistake in the handbook that allowed for white shirts to be worn at NGH. It's supposed to only be gold for 7th graders, maroon for 8th graders. It should have been in the original handbook. It wasn't. My apologies. It's been communicated to parents in the interim, and I think anyone who had issues, we're able to help them out in terms of our stuff, but we just wanted to correct the handbook to reflect our intentions.
So that was the only thing.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Madam Vice President, I didn't know if Ms. Morrow had an update. She's been here on the situation at the building over there on MLK.
Yes, ma'am.
We brought it up under old business, and
she wasn't in here.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I just got here late, a little bit late.
So
did you need to address us, or?
No, I was wondering if y'all had any new information.
No, ma'am. Mr. Watson hasn't received any, nor have I.
Okay. I'm available if y'all got some information. I'll be around town.
Likewise.
Well, make sure you had the opportunity in case you had some new information.
Oh, Ms. McGaxon, one thing I wanted to relate to you. You had a concern about it being cleaned up around the premises up there?
Yes.
Yeah, well, anytime y'all want to host a cleanup, we can definitely get some groups together.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned unless there's any other questions.